Trade talks are escalating after Jim Rutherford revealed to the media that they are targeting a center heading into this offseason. The Canucks have been linked to the perfect center that makes the most sense for the Vancouver Canucks to target in this offseason. We're going to break down all this player, the implications, and more later on this episode. Before we get into that, if you're enjoying this daily Canucks content and you want to stay up to date on everything to do around the Canucks, make sure to go down and hit that subscribe button. 64.9% of you guys are watching this and aren't subscribed. It's completely free and it helps us out a bunch. And in return, we'll keep you up to date on everything to do around your Vancouver Canucks. But with that, let's just hop straight into the first topic here, where we did see Jim Rutherford speak to the media at the end of the year, going in on trading for a center. He said it'll be expensive, but it's also be very expensive not to get one. So we're going to open to doing whatever it takes and probably the trade market to get that player. Now, Jim has made it very clear that the Vancouver Canucks need to add more center depth, and fans completely agree with this as well. And this is where Marco Rossi of the Minnesota Wild has been linked to the Canucks. It all started to stem when Marco Rossi spoke out on his contract, the trade potential of leaving the Minnesota Wild. Anyone that follows the Minnesota Wild, you did see that Marco Rossi got demoted to the fourth line during the playoffs. This was a coaching decision as they wanted to spread out the offense. Rossi was not happy about this. We know there was a 5x5 contract offer on the table for Rossi as well. But this does seem like a marriage that's about to end, as Rossi does seem to be leaving the team. Now, looking at Rossi as a player, he is outstanding. 23 years old, a bit of a smaller frame, 24 goals, 36 assists, 460 points. Marco Rossi was playing 18 and almost a half minutes time on ice before being moved. This is one of the most up-and-coming, most excited players on the Minnesota Wild, and it does seem like his time is coming to an end. And this is where the Canucks need to step in, as it is a perfect fit. Now, looking at Rossi's career, he has had back-to-back great seasons, growing year after year. We seen in 2019, he did put up 1 point in 19 games. We know Marco Rossi dealt with a few health issues. Going into the next two seasons, 82 games played in both years, 20 goals in back-to-back seasons, including 40 points and 60 points, putting up 3 points in 6 games. And like I said, this was on the fourth line with two grinder-style players, so his full potential was not really hit on this team heading into the postseason. Now, the big thing with Rossi, yes, you are trading for an RFA. Rossi is not signed to a contract. He is entering RFA status as of July 1st, 23 years old. He still has a lot of time to grow, but with the Canucks trading for this, and there is a very similar trade to base this on, but with Marco Rossi, we know he basically rejected a 5x5 by the Minnesota Wild management. It seems like he's looking for more, and looking at the projections, which I will attach down low in the description as well. At the very top, we can see a long-term deal for Marco Rossi is projected to be a $7.74 million contract, so 7 years at $7.4 million per year, or a short-term contract for Marco Rossi would be $4.5 million on a 2-year deal. Now, the Vancouver Canucks go out to trade for Marco Rossi. You have basically two options. You can lock him up and almost walk him into being a UFA, like we've seen the Canucks do or old management do quite a lot. But I think a 7x7 with the cap rising, with the cap jumping so much over the next couple seasons, a 7x7 contract for Marco Rossi would be ideal for the Vancouver Canucks to get locked up. As I said, a back-to-back 20-goal scorer, someone that can grow with this team at only the age of 23. Getting into his first, or second, I should say, full season in the NHL, Marco Rossi's trade would look very familiar to the Minnesota Wild trading Kevin Fiala. We've seen Kevin Fiala traded and then immediately signed a 7-year deal with the Los Angeles Kings. Fiala was acquired for defensive prospect Brock Faber and a first-round pick, number 19 in the 2022 draft. If the Vancouver Canucks wanted to package one of their prospects, Jonathan Lekermacki, Tom Willander, or someone that isn't really a top prospect, and pick number 15, this may get it done for the Minnesota Wild, even though they're looking to add more depth to this team. If you wanted to go the route of moving out a roster player, you can do this as well, but it does feel eerily similar to the Minnesota Wild not be able to get a contract done with a player, moving him out for a defensive prospect like Tom Willander, who I will say Tom Willander is farther ahead in his development than we seen him at the current moment when Brock Faber was traded from LA But the big thing with this as well, the Canucks are going to actively look to shop that 15th overall pick. There's a lot of good prospects. There's a lot of good players the Vancouver Canucks could add to their pipeline. But with this team having a ticking time bomb, basically, with Quinn Hughes' future up in the air, are the Canucks going to hold on to this pick or flip it? And like I said, this is the perfect opportunity to move out this 15th overall pick. Yes, you can draft a center, but you can go out to acquire Marco Rossi, who is only, 5 years older than some of these prospects coming through the system. You have an NHL ready center that can hop in straight on the second line. Yes, I know a lot of people are going to say a smaller frame, 5'9", 182 pounds. But Marco Rossi has shown that he can play in a full season of back-to-back years. He has shown that he can put up points. 3 points on a fourth line is quite insane. But looking at the Canucks, you can move out this first-round pick this year, next year, the year after. You have a couple picks in between. Maybe this is something where you move the 15th overall and attach a third, a fourth, or a fifth round with a B-level prospect to make this work. I'm not exactly sure what it's going to fully take to get Marco Rossi, but with all the reports coming out, with the Canucks being linked, with the Gym saying they want to center, it does seem like it's just a matter of time before the Vancouver Canucks actively make a trade. And if they don't call or at least put a few feelers out on Marco Rossi, I think this is a massive mistake from the Canucks management, where he is an ideal center for this team. Now, looking at the center depth on this team, we know PD is on this team with an $11.6 million contract. Let's not look at that at the moment. If you're putting Pettersson on your top line, you need a second line center. Filip Hronek has been great. I love Filip Hronek, but I don't know if he is or will be a second line center in the NHL. We've seen great production from him at $4.4 million, but we're unsure if he can fill the void on a team that wants to contend as early as next season. Boeser is a UFA going into next season, or at July 1st. He could leave this Vancouver Canucks team. You have more options in Drew O'Connor, who can play a tiny bit of center. Teddy Blueger is a perfect depth center. But looking at the center depth, if you go in with Pettersson, Marco Rossi, who, like I said, 3 points on the fourth line in the playoffs is quite impressive in my opinion, and you still work down with Filip Hronek and someone else like Teddy Blueger, this is a center depth the Canucks can work with. This does add so much offense production. And yes, a new coach coming in, a new system, maybe Marco Rossi poised to break out in a new system, in a bigger role. But what is your guys' thoughts on all this? What is your thoughts on Marco Rossi being connected to the Canucks as a possible trade target? I'll attach all this down below, including the article by Michael Russo, who is the top insider for the Minnesota Wild. I'll attach all this down below if you want to keep up and read through it as well. But that'd be it for this episode. If you enjoyed it, make sure to go down and leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. We'll be back with another episode, so keep your eye out for that. But I've been your host, Mark. Bye and take care.